Hi there, it's Tim Wilkie again. So, what we'll be talking today is kind of more just about the media in general within Toronto. This time, kind of like local news media. Now, what we're seeing on the screen right now is someone by the name of Anne Brocklehurst. Apparently, her bio here says she's a veteran reporter and a licensed private investigator. And you know what? I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to shit on her too hard. I'm going to briefly just talk about her because, when you go to these people and you tell them, hey, look, I was misidentified as the Sherman Video Suspect. Isn't that interesting? Do you have anything to say about that? Generally, what you're going to find is going to happen, actually, is these white people are just going to say, oh, you. Oh, yeah, you're the person of color. You're Chinese, whatever, half Chinese. Oh, well, you're just stupid. You don't know what you're talking about, right? And that's my frustration with a lot of news media, but specifically the white culture of the white elite in this country. It's no different from the States. And actually, if the Barry and Honey Sherman case prove anything, it's proving that these people in power are just completely incompetent. And like the reason for them being there might be nepotism, it might be biased, but as soon as someone comes forward, right? And if that person is a victim, if my likeness was taken on video, then I am the victim in that situation. There's no personal expertise that these news journalists are going to tell me, right? There's no cop or police officer that once they go to the public and they ask, hey, do you know anyone? Is anyone in the public, do you know anything that we don't? Of course, the victim is going to understand and have the perspective that these dumb cops don't, that these lying, biased journalists don't, right? And with Anne Brocklehurst, I don't know her situation, but let's just go over, Kevin Donovan's Billionaire Murders Crave TV series, because she was featured on that.
The realtor calls 911. She says, somebody has killed my clients.
I got a phone call from my friend, and she said, did you hear what happened to the Shermans?
Barry and Honey Sherman were one of Canada's wealthiest and most philanthropic couples.
These two leading business lights, social lights in Toronto, dead.
It's an atom bomb that goes up in Toronto and around the world.
How could this happen?
Okay, so basically, Anne Brocklehurst was featured in the Billionaire Murders on Crave. And what the Toronto police have said, in their opinion, is that private investigators don't have the same capacity to take in evidence and to be able to investigate as the Toronto police. And we already know the Toronto police are incompetent, right? So if the Toronto police, if they bungled the Sherman case this badly, then maybe you could question how much journalists or how much Anne Brocklehurst could know, right? And I don't want to pick on her too much. But if you listen to what Anne Brocklehurst said in the Crave documentary, right? She's like, oh, she went to an FBI profiler and she asked if maybe there was symbolism in the water of the pool of the Shermans. Wow. And it's like, really, I come to you and I try to communicate with you online and you say, oh, your story, like it sounds familiar, I guess. But you want to play this run-of-the-mill Scooby-Doo mysteries like it's Hannibal Lecter and Will Graham, like going over murder scenes. Like, those art pieces in the Hannibal Lecter TV series? Like, oh, what does it mean? Like, Anne Brocklehurst, like, I'm going to be, like, very easy on you, but don't you kind of, like, think that's fucking stupid? Like, if I tell you, hey, look, I was misidentified in the video, like, I just don't understand these people's logic. Like, white people will literally watch you fucking die. They don't give a shit. Like, if it's for their careers or a little bit of money, these white people will fucking backstab you, sabotage you, they'll fucking lie about you, or they'll ignore you at your own mortal expense on this earth. Like, your own mortal injury is at stake. They do not care, right? This is what these white people are proving again and again and again in these positions of power, especially in the news media. And Anne Brocklehurst, if you claim that you're a news journalist, okay, it doesn't matter how wacky you think my civil lawsuit is. Going over some of the stuff that I've learned over the past year or so, yeah, I can admit that I'm an imperfect person. I could actually fine tune and rewire that civil lawsuit now that I know a lot more information. But this is why it's imperative that I think everyday average people actually have a say what goes on in their community, right? Because if you take what Kevin Donovan says by a word, people like him think that these old legacy newspaper print magazines, right? They're old school journalism and they're getting down to the truth, and only they, all your journalism awards and your stupid book deals, like you're just a person. You're just a person, man. Like these Toronto police detectives and these police, you are just police. At the end of the day, you're still an infallible human being. And actually, when you have 1,000 brains on a case as opposed to a few biased people, you can actually do a lot more in society. And Kevin Donovan is worried that, the elitist in the news media and in print media, that dying legacy media that we hate, right? They want to basically say that they have, the objective truth and they know what's going on. Okay, well, why can't we just go over some basic facts then? I've basically gone to these people and I've said it very basic and plain. My name is Timothy Wilkie. I was misidentified as the Sherman Video Suspect. And on December 13th of 2017, I was wearing a bulky black jacket. I was wearing 2 hoodies. And by Kevin Donovan's description, right, he said that it was a portly man or whatever. That's what he said. A portly man standing at 5'9". Well, instead of a fat portly man, could it have been that I was wearing 2 hoodies and a black jacket? When these people in the media say that, oh, it was subversion and it was a guy who was like a super spy agent or something. Okay, well, what about the abrasion on my foot? It was painful on my left foot. I kicked up my right foot because I didn't want to put pressure on the left foot. My boots left an abrasion. Why would you downplay that, right? Why would you downplay that? If you know that like 20 people can enter a murder scene, and not just Barry and Honey Sherman, any murder, if you know that's the high error, or sorry, the likelihood of high error, or whatever, or you know what I mean, right? Kevin Donovan is just working off bias motive reasoning. And Anne Brocklehurst, I believe she's said that as well about Kevin, right? And I think there's a few people in this scenario that are working off biased motivated reasoning, right? But can we just for a second just like all say that as human beings, we're infallible, right? Like Kevin Donovan is going to look like a complete fucking idiot if he messes this up. And that's why I'm bringing this is why I'm making this video right now, because Kevin Donovan in a month or so or in a few weeks or so, he's going to go back to the courts and he's going to ask them to unredact the rest of the Sherman files. Now, if he fails, it could be at least a decade before we ever uncover anything about the Shermans. And in my guesstimation, the ITOs and whatever's there, it was a sham investigation from the beginning. So Kevin Donovan, A, is going to learn that he wasted his whole fucking time because he should have brought my name up, right? You literally had it on your fucking doorstep, Kevin Donovan. You had the misidentified Sherman suspect, but instead, you might be going back to the court in the B scenario. Well, you won't get anything. You won't get anything. And had you just brought up my name in the media, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation of you potentially fucking this situation up. Like 2 billionaires being murdered in their home. The public needs to have that level of certainty that if 2 billionaires are shot dead in the street, if a dirty cop kills a judge, that it's not going to be a closed court, that we have an open court system and that the public can know about what's going on in their community instead of rampant police corruption or corruption of any kind. But you want to know the ironic thing about Kevin Donovan? Kevin Donovan is like one of his major stories that he did was called Death in a Small Town. It was about this child named Nathaniel, right? And it was so frustrating is like if you in some like alternative timeline where Kevin Donovan doesn't fuck this up, right? He was supposed to be the guy to say, hey, look, I had a previous story about the OPP and them making up evidence, about the police being corrupt and making up evidence, right? So when it comes to Barry and Honey Sherman, he literally had this story in his lap, and he failed. He completely and utterly failed, right? Because he didn't want to listen to someone like me. You know, he thinks I'm just an idiot. Why? Because I'm a racialized person, right? Why? And as you'll see in these next pictures, I literally went onto my LinkedIn. I tried messaging or direct messaging people like Catherine McDonald from CTV News. I tried getting a hold of several other people, including Kathleen Goldhar. And she actually did respond back to me. But here's the problem. Like, when these fucking journalists from their big stupid corporations, when they say, oh, well, I'm not working on the story anymore, I don't have any fucking social responsibility, right? Like, these journalists, they say, oh, you know, we care about, you know, democracy and the state of broadcasting and journalism. No, you don't. No, you fucking don't. Because when I actually message you, you say, oh, well, it's not my job anymore. Too bad, right? You were the one, Kathleen Goldhar. You were the fucking one to say that Paul Wybrow, an ex-Scotland Yard detective, was the person who said that Toronto police were corrupt and were going to set up Barry and Honey Sherman. What the fuck? So what, you just lost interest? Doesn't matter if your story anymore. You said police corruption. I came forward as the Sherman suspect. I'm saying police corruption. Where the fuck are you, Kathleen Goldhar? Right? These white people don't fucking care. They're incompetent, they're lazy, or they're just disingenuous and stupid. They don't care, and they'll let people of color die because of their incompetence. You don't deserve to be in these positions. Fuck your reputation. Fuck your reputation. Okay? Fuck you.
Smith wanted us to try and find somebody to put something in Sherman's trunk of his car.
Smith also allegedly suggested planting drugs in Barry's car or setting him up in a sting operation with a minor. Allegations that were first reported in Fortune magazine in 1999. In the article, Smith was called Bayer's spy master.
He said he could arrange for someone in the Toronto police to stop him on his way home and search the car and find it in his trunk. And we dismissed that. We said, no, we're not having anything to do with that, you know.
All right, so I'm just going to end it here and I'll transition out. But essentially what I'm saying is, instead of putting our faith into these legacy print media whatever, or these large corporations who, just so you know, are going to be laying off thousands of people. Chorus just did another round of layoffs from Global News. CBC would not be surprised if they did thousands more of layoffs or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, Kevin Donovan, okay, bro, don't fuck this up, right? Don't be a little pussy, right? And not bring up my name when you have an easy story, when you don't have the facts. You said that the footage that you saw was of this 5'9", 5'10", portly man or whatever. So it's not Victor Cerruti? So you're saying the video evidence, which you think is so substantial and you got to saw, that nobody else did, but the police said that the walking man footage was the best footage they had. A grainy, darkly dressed man. The murder lookout theory is stupid because everyone said that they would have just shot Barry Sherman in the back of the head and been done with it if it was, you know, a big corporate hit job, or hit piece, hitman, whatever, right? That's what they said. And why would you bring an accomplice to a murder? Why would you do that? The murder lookout theory is motivated reasoning, Kevin. Now's the time, right? Now's the time, because if you mess this up, you got some big egg on your face, dude. You say that all of the power in journalism should be these legacy print media types and elitist types. I say that information should be democratized and people have a place to go, right? I don't think the CBC YouTube channel should have its comment threads blocked. I don't think a bunch of loser cops on Reddit should ban people and just silence them. And I don't think people who claim to be journalists, like Anne Brocklehurst, who claim to be private detectives, whatever, you know, they have no accountability in even just mentioning someone like me instead of just dismissing me as mentally ill, which white people do all the time, right? Your self-importance is just fucking unbelievable. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that, right? Kevin Donovan, there's more at stake than just your stupid book deal, right? What about closing the courts? What about that? What about 2 billionaires being murdered? Look, if 2 billionaires could be murdered in this country, these cops will not give a shit. They're not trying. Ask Hank Insignia. Ask him. What happened to Nevaeh Tucker, right? That little girl who was murdered? We've heard nothing from Toronto police on that. Toronto police, what happened when you said that serial killer Bruce McArthur had a partner in crime? What about that? What about all the people that go missing? Kevin Donovan. There's more at stake than your stupid fucking book deal. And I'm really getting tired of it because the Toronto police need to be held accountable. I will say this. The Toronto police need to be dismantled. The Toronto police are a criminal organization. They're white supremacist, and they're the most disgusting criminals in the fucking city. And I hate the Toronto police. I hate the Toronto police. I wish them gone. I wish no happiness in their lives. I wish they just disappear forever. You got Anne Brocklehurst on the Billionaire Murders podcast and the series or whatever saying, there was symbolism in the water of the Sherman's pool, and she talked to an FBI profiler and all this nonsense. Like, really think about that for a second. Like, what, she's creating this Scooby-Doo mysteries scenario? Like, Will Graham is, like, going over these art pieces on the Hannibal Lecter TV series? Like, that's the best we got, right? Toronto police, by their own admission, said that private investigators don't have the resources to actually manage and obtain evidence the same way as the police do. And the police are fucking incompetent. All they do is just corruption across the board, right? The evidence truck that showed up at the Shermans a week later, they were searching through the sewers a week later, okay? And they were looking for what? So when Detective Brandon Price said that, no, he was signaling it was a suicide, not even a murder-suicide. He said suicide, double suicide, or whatever. It was not suspicious to the public. That's what Brandon Price said. And then a week later, they bring an evidence truck to search the sewers. Kind of seems like a cover-up. Kind of seems like corruption. Maybe you, Anne Brocklehurst, maybe you, Kevin Donovan, Kathleen Goldhar, should have some fucking social responsibility.